Okay, at this point, what I'm going to do is mix a big batch of gray here as I'm going to put another coat on the road and really work this time instead of that kind of flat area. I'm going to get some depth going on in this road. And that's a kind of a critical area to create that gradient, where it goes slightly darker as it gets closer to you and goes lighter as more of the sky influences the road. And right now I'm just testing the value. I keep mixing it until I get the right value that I want there. And then once I get the right value, then I'll start putting in the paint. Now I'm going to take a squeegee tool and work the paint a little bit back and forth, basically scrape off all excess so I have a thinner layer of paint so I can show some of the underneath layer. I don't want just an opaque flat layer here because the road is going to have a lot of little nuances and things. And rather than trying to paint every little nuance, this is just a much more effective way of creating some of those natural looking kind of the wear and tear on a road. And I just find, a series of these kinds of tools really helps you do that. What I'm doing is I'm both kind of scraping off and then placing some of that scraped paint off like a palette knife back on to create some of the lines and the joints between different sections of the concrete. Now, when putting in lines like this in the road, they need to be accurate. They need to be pointing in the right direction as far as the vanishing point goes. There also needs to be a taper as it goes back into space. And so I'll be doing things to make sure that happens. Same thing with that little right turn arrow there. There's definitely a foreshortening that's going on. And so you're not going to see the full arrow. And then I'm going to take the squeegee tool here and just make sure again that it's pointing towards that vanishing point. And I'm going to cut in, but also go back with some other tools. Just make sure that I've got the vanishing point or all these lines going to that vanishing point correctly. That will really help make this road look like it's laying down and going back in space. Okay, I'm working a little bit deeper tone here at the bottom. The gradient that I made wasn't quite enough. I didn't go dark enough towards the bottom, and so I'm just rectifying that by adding with a brush a little bit darker tone, and then I'll go back with a squeegee and just kind of integrate it into the piece. Now, one of the things I want to do is make sure this is perfectly horizontal. So some of these lines, just to help me, just like I did with the skyscrapers going vertically, just make sure I have a few lines going horizontally to show that the road is flat. Now, in reality, the road is not going to be perfectly flat. It actually has a taper. It slowly goes downward from the center, and that's because you want to have the rain go down on either side. But I've found that visually it looks a little funny if you actually paint it accurately rather than just straight. So it's one of those things where you just want to make it look good, regardless of what is actually happening or what you know about it.